So we want to build a blog, and I want to have three main URLs or sections in that blog. Therefore, I will add them as folders to pages because I will use that folder-based approach because one, I will have sub-pages, so slash posts slash the ID of a post, for example. So I need to be able to nest folders and files. And I personally prefer the folder-based approach because it's easier to understand. It really replicates what you enter in the URL locally on your file system. So here, in the pages folder, I want to enter, for example, a posts page. So posts as a folder name. Because I want to have pages like /posts, which gives me a list of all my posts, and then /posts1 to give me the details or the full screen visibility for post number 1. Additionally, I'll add another folder directly in the pages folder, so not nested in the posts folder, but in the pages folder, which I'll name admin. Here we'll add some admin related routes where we will later also add authentication so that we can sign up and sign in and write blog posts. And then I'll add my about page, let's say. Whoops, should not be nested in admin, but a direct root page in pages. So we got these three folders, about, admin, and posts. Now in about, I'll simply add an index.view file so that we can load /about. And the content of this about page can be found attached to this video here. So this is the page content, just some dummy text, and here some scoped styling. Remember the styling lectures at the end of last module? Here I got styles which are scoped, which only apply to this component and therefore only to this page. With about page, I'm simply referring to this about page CSS class. And that's all, that's my about page. It's really simple and we will not revisit it. No worries though, we'll add far more functionalities to posts and admin. In the posts folder, I'll add an index.view file to be able to reach /posts. Now the question is, what do we display in there? Here I'll add a template first of all, and then a div with a class of posts page maybe, the name is up to you though. And in there I want to render a list of posts. Now I'll come back to how we actually use data and how we render that list in a second. For now, let me add some styling here, and I will also scope these styles by adding the scoped attribute to ensure they only apply to posts page in this component. And I will add my posts page HTML class selector, and will therefore add a display flex property here to use flexbox. I added a link where you can learn more about this CSS concept at the end of last module. And then justify content, which I set to center, and align items, which I set to center. This will center whatever I enter here. And here I will enter my individual posts. I will come back to creating these later. Now in the posts page area here, I also want to have a sub page with a dynamic parameter. The parameter should be called ID. And how do I add this here in the posts folder? Well, you got two options. You can create a file named _id.view, or the approach I like, you create a folder named _id. And in that folder, you create an index.view file. Now in that index.view file, I want to load a single post, of course. So I'll add a template here and then a div with a class, maybe single post page. The name is also up to you here. And then here I want to show the details of a selected post. Therefore here, I'll add, let's say, a section, which I'll give a class of post. And now in that post, you can output whatever you want. We could have a h1 title, where we'll later have the title of the post. Of course, we'll load this data dynamically later. Below the title, we could have a div with a class of post details, where we output details like when the post was published or updated, or who wrote the post. So we could have divs in here where we have like the last updated on div, which will later also populate dynamically. and maybe one where we say written by name. So we'll replace this with real content, of course. And then we could have a paragraph where we have the actual content of the post. So this could be the structure of a single post, of a simple post. Below there, we could have a section with the class post feedback maybe, where I simply say, let me know what you think about the post, send a mail to, and then we add a normal anchor tag where I simply add the mail to adjustment here, mail to feedback at myawesomedomain.com or whatever your awesome domain is. And we can repeat this as a caption for this link. So this could be the dummy structure for our single post. Now let's inspect what we built thus far. We'll work on the admin section later, no worries. So we can reload the starting page, and we haven't changed that yet, so it still looks as before. But we can go to /about to see the about page with that styling here. And we will work on the styling a bit more later, no worries. We can go to /posts and don't see anything here, which makes sense because right now we got no posts. But if we go to /posts1, for example, we output our dummy post content. Now this is not looking super pretty, and here I want to create a pretty page. So I'll add styles step by step. Let's start with the ID page here. So for a single post, I'll add a style, which should be scoped. And now in here, I'll quickly paste in some prepared styles. Now, you can find these attached to this video. I just don't want to bore you by typing CSS for 10 minutes. Here are just some styles, which in order to work correctly need some additional classes in the HTML code. One is post detail, which should be applied to the divs in the post details div. And the h1 tag will get a class of post title, just because the styles I pasted in use these classes. The content also should get a class of post content. And if we do that, now it looks a bit nicer already. Now we'll work on the font a bit more later and so on. So this is just how this single post page could look like. Now, of course, we want to continue working on this and we want to work on the admin section too. We probably want to have a header, and that all screams for us having a look at the layout and having a look at reusable components we could build.